The wind had teeth that night. It crawled across the plains, slicing through the silence like a blade through cloth. The moon hung low over the Wyoming range, pale and quiet, throwing silver shadows across the endless land. Inside a lonely ranch house at the edge of nowhere, a single lantern glowed in the window, faint, flickering, almost tired. Eli Rourke sat beside that window, his hat tipped low, a half-empty bottle on the table beside him. He hadn't spoken a word to anyone in 3 days. The only sounds were the ticking of the wall clock and the low hum of the fire that burned in the hearth. His eyes stayed fixed on the dark horizon, like a man still waiting for something he'd already lost. It had been 3 winters since his wife Clara passed away. 3 winters since laughter had left this house. The fields still stretched wide and proud, the horses still ran, but the sound of her voice had vanished, and without it, the ranch felt like a hollow drum, echoing only memories. And then, that night, as the wind howled and the cold grew fierce, something moved in the distance. At first he thought it was an animal, maybe a stray coyote or a lost horse, but the shape was too upright, too fragile. It staggered across the snow, wrapped in shadows, trembling. Eli rose from his chair. He grabbed his coat and pushed open the door. The air cut deep against his face, and snow dusted across his boots. The figure stumbled closer, until at last, in the light spilling from his lantern, he saw her. A young Apache girl, barely 20. Her dark hair was tangled with frost, her clothes torn from the wind. Her lips were blue, her eyes half closed. Before she could speak, she fell to her knees. Eli caught her before she hit the ground. Her voice was no more than a whisper, shaking, raw. "Please, I need your warmth tonight." Those words hit him like a storm. He carried her inside, laying her by the fire. Her skin was ice cold, her hands small and trembling. He wrapped her in a blanket and poured a cup of hot water, watching the steam rise. For a long time neither spoke. He only listened to the sound of her breathing, shallow and weak, and to his own heart, beating harder than it had in years. When she finally opened her eyes, they were dark as the midnight hills. "You're safe here," Eli said quietly. "What happened to you?" Her voice cracked. "Soldiers chased us. My people scattered. I ran. I don't know if any made it." He could hear the pain in every word. The girl's accent was soft but heavy with exhaustion, like each syllable cost her strength. Eli nodded slowly. "You're lucky you made it this far. Storm like this'll kill a man before the dawn." "I didn't care," she whispered. "I just didn't want to die alone." For a moment, the firelight caught her face, and something in Eli's chest tightened. There was innocence there, but also something ancient, something wounded. She wasn't just lost. She was broken by a world that had no mercy. Hours passed. She fell asleep beside the fire, wrapped in his old wool blanket. Eli sat watching her, the flames reflecting in his eyes. He told himself he was only helping because it was the right thing to do. But deep down, something else stirred, something he thought had died with Clara. When dawn came, the snow outside had settled thick and silent. Eli stepped out to feed the horses. The world looked clean again, untouched. But when he turned back toward the house, he saw her standing at the doorway, wrapped in his coat, the rising sun painting her face gold. "My name is Nayeli," she said softly. He nodded. "Eli Rourke." A faint smile touched her lips. "Thank you for saving me." He shrugged. "Didn't do much. Fire did most of the work." But his eyes told a different story. That morning began something neither of them could name. A quiet bond born out of loneliness and cold. She stayed to regain her strength, and Eli found himself talking again. About the land, the horses, the seasons. She listened with those dark, gentle eyes that seemed to understand more than words could say. Nayeli began helping around the ranch, feeding chickens, mending fences, cleaning saddles. Her presence filled the house with something warm, almost sacred. Eli started smiling again, sometimes even humming while he worked. But in a small town 20 miles east, rumors had started. They said a white rancher was harboring an Apache girl, and in that land such whispers could turn deadly fast. The first sign of trouble came with hoofbeats, heavy, fast, angry. Eli was in the barn when he heard them. 4 riders coming from the East Ridge, wearing the badges of frontier deputies. The snow from their boots hadn't even settled before one of them shouted, "Rourke, you in there?" Eli stepped out slow, his coat hanging loose, his eyes calm but cold. "What's this about?" The lead rider, a broad man with a scar across his cheek, spat in the dirt. "We heard you've been keeping company with an Apache girl. You know that's trouble, Rourke. The army don't like strays." Eli didn't blink. "She's no trouble to anyone. She was dying. I just gave her shelter." "That's not your call," the deputy sneered. "You hand her over, we'll take her to Fort Benson. She'll answer for whatever her tribe's done." From behind him, Nayeli appeared at the doorway. She didn't hide. She stood tall, though her hands shook slightly. "I've done nothing," she said. "My people only wanted peace." "Peace?" the deputy barked. "You savages ambushed a supply convoy last week." "That wasn't us," she cried. "I swear." But he raised his gun. Eli moved before he thought. His hand shot to his own holster, the metal cold against his palm. "Put it down," he said, voice low. "Ain't no one shooting anyone on my land." The standoff lasted seconds, but felt like hours. Then one of the deputies muttered, "He ain't worth it, Tom. Let's ride." They left, but not without a threat. "You can't protect her." "Forever, Rourke. You're choosing the wrong side." When they disappeared over the hill, Nayeli's breath broke. She fell to her knees. Eli walked over, kneeling beside her. "You're safe now," he said. But both of them knew it was a lie. That night the fire burned low again. Nayeli sat by the window, staring out at the dark fields. "Why did you help me, Eli?" she asked softly. He looked at her for a long time. "Because I know what it's like to lose everything. And because no one deserves to freeze alone." She nodded slowly, her eyes glistening. "I used to think the stars were spirits of the ones we lost," she whispered. "When I sleep, I see my mother there. Maybe you're Clara, too." Her words cut deep. Eli reached out, his rough hand trembling as it brushed hers. She didn't pull away. For a long time they just sat there, 2 souls bound by the same wound, one cut by war, the other by grief. Days passed. The threat from the deputies grew. Eli started hiding her when strangers came. But one night, as the sky burned with an orange sunset, the storm came, not of weather but of men. 6 riders thundered toward the ranch, guns drawn. Eli ran to the barn, loading his rifle. Nayeli followed, fear in her eyes. "Run," he said. "Head to the North Ridge. There's a cave there. You'll be safe." "I won't leave you," she cried. "Please, Nayeli," he said. "You have to trust me." But before she could move, the first shots rang out. Bullets tore through the air, splintering wood. Eli fired back, his rifle roaring. The men shouted, flames from their torches licking the night. Nayeli screamed his name, but he turned and shouted, "Go!" Tears blurred her vision as she ran into the darkness. The snow was deep, the wind cruel. Behind her she heard gunfire, shouting, then silence. When she reached the ridge, she turned back. The ranch was burning. The flames rose high, painting the sky in blood and gold. She ran back down, barefoot, her heart pounding. When she reached the ruins, she found him lying in the snow, blood staining his shirt, eyes open toward the stars. She fell beside him, shaking. "Eli," she whispered. He smiled weakly. "Told you. Don't freeze alone." Her tears fell on his face. "No, please don't leave me." He reached for her hand, gripping it with the last of his strength. "You brought warmth back to this house, Nayeli. Don't let the world take that from you." And with that, the lonely rancher's breath faded into the night. The next morning, when the sun rose over the ashes, she buried him by the old oak near the river, the place he'd once called Clara's Hill. For days she stayed, tending to what was left of the land, whispering his name into the wind. And sometimes, when the night turned cold, she would look at the stars and swear she could feel him there, his warmth, his strength, his quiet love that never asked for anything in return. And the plains stayed silent, holding their story, the Apache girl and the rancher who gave, a fire when the world turned cold,